All right, good morning, everyone. I am very pleased to introduce Joy Milner, who's founder and co-director of Fit and Food Connection. She's going to share with us how small changes in all areas of holistic wellness can lead to big results. And just to give her contact information, I'm going to share a screen here.
Yeah, and Amy, you can just put it up for a second and take it down. Good morning, everyone. I am Joy. It's so nice to be with you this morning. Amy knows me. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, I'll flash my contact information up there, but you all can always ask Amy anytime you want. If you have a question about something, if you need something, you can reach out to me in any way, anytime. So I welcome that. Sometimes when I'm speaking, especially when it's a really short time like this, I don't have time to get to everything. We will definitely have time for questions, and you could always put something in the chat and Amy will let me know. So feel free to ask a question as we move through here. But if there's something you feel like we can't get to, or you have something next week or the week after, feel free to reach out to me. So I basically am here to talk about self-care. And for me, a lot of things like self-care happen through wellness. So just a couple quick minutes about me. I started in marketing and advertising. I started working full time and realized the stress on my body of not being able to move and of sitting all day. So I started exercising a lot, probably about 35 years ago, realized the importance of it, started substitute teaching in my classes, and then basically, and Amy, you can take that down whenever you want. I'll give you whatever, but thank you. And so then I just decided to start teaching fitness. I got certified. I became a full-time wellness professional. I ended up taking over a gym in a building of a Fortune 500 company in Dallas. They had their own huge wellness facility where I lived for 15 years and started really just empowering people through wellness. Then we moved back to St. Louis with my husband and two kids in 1995, where I grew up. I had my third child here, and I proceeded to help people with wellness, but I really raised my children, spent my time on my children. And then about 10 years ago, when I started realizing that my youngest was going to be growing up and my kids were going off to college, I said, what next? So I took all of the incredible blessings that I have in my life and with my passions of wellness, health and fitness. And I knocked on a door one day of a community center in North St. Louis, and I said, can I hold a little class for some moms? Called myself Living Joyfully, started teaching about just wellness and stress relief and all of the things that encompass holistic wellness to me, eating right and exercise and stress relief and positive thinking and sleeping, all these things that come together, because if one of them is off balance, it's really hard for us to be fully healthy. So I met a woman named Gabby, and we decided to form a nonprofit, which we did about 7 years ago. We called it the Fit and Food Connection. And we now have a full, amazing team of angels, including Amy, that pour their heart and soul into going into our low-income neighborhoods and empowering people to get healthy. So we have a healthy food pantry delivery. We have a garden. We have fitness and nutrition classes. We have one-on-one coaching. And so that's where I spend all my energy right now, is trying to bridge the gaps in our food and fitness deserts throughout St. Louis for people that just don't have access. So the more that we all, it doesn't matter where you live, who you are, what you do, we all need to feel healthy. So hopefully after our little session today, you will feel better, you will feel stronger, you will feel empowered in some way to just do something in your life that makes you feel good. So what I thought we'd do is I'm going to talk a little bit about nutrition and fitness and sleep, but I'm going to spend some time on positive thinking, on stress relief, on sleep, on more of the self-care end of things. And then I thought we would end our session with just a couple minutes of some really kind of deep breathing and some stress relief to see how it makes you feel. And you can pop in with a question anytime you want. So for me, I feel like if I told you all to go run a marathon tomorrow, or to go on the banana diet, right? Or to fast for 7 days, would any of you do that?
No.
You would?
No, I would not.
Exactly, right. It sounds terrible, right? So what I teach is small changes yield big results. So if we break this big, scary world down, especially with COVID and with stress, and with things going on in our world that continue to cause us stress, if we woke up every single day and said, wow, I can do 5 minutes of exercise, or I can set a really small goal that's going to set me up for success. That's what it's all about. It's building these small bridges that make you feel confident and make you feel empowered instead of doing something really unrealistic, which the world I feel like continues to do for us. And then we feel beaten down and everything seems just too big to handle. So that's what I do. I teach you really small ways to get from point A to point B. So I really want you to take something today that you learn and try to apply it to your life and see how it makes you feel. I'd like to start with nutrition because for me, nutrition is really important. I feel like a lot of times we may not feel good. We may feel like we have a cold, or we feel bloated, or we feel stressed. And sometimes it's actually coming from our food. So we're not going to spend a massive amount of time on it. But I just want to give you some little tips and tricks that I use that make me feel better, and things that I would suggest for you. The one thing I would always say to do in anything that we're going to talk about today is to set a small goal. So if for any reason you have a health goal, maybe it's to lose 5 pounds, maybe it's to have more energy, maybe it's to get off of some medicines that you've been on, or maybe you have no wellness goals at all, which is fine. But if you do, it's always really good to start with a small change. So I can tell you in a very brief summary that most of us are eating too many carbohydrates, too much white flour, too much sugar, not drinking enough water, and not getting enough vegetables. If I had to sum up everything that I believe in about nutrition, that would be it right there. So just by making some small changes would be really, really significant. And I think it would be something that you would feel the difference. So for example, the people that started kind of on the earth, the caveman that had a spear and all they could do was eat from the earth, right? They were pretty healthy. It was amazing. There wasn't a lot of disease and things back then. But what happens now is all these companies, they want their food to sell, right? So they put chemicals in it and colors in it and things that make it taste really, really good, but our bodies just don't know how to process it. So what happens is we put things into our system that our body is working so hard to break down. That's why cancer is high and disease is high and sickness is high, because often our body is really struggling to break down so many of the things that we put in it. I would never tell you to ever do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. I truly believe in living every single day like it's our last. And I really mean that. We are not guaranteed tomorrow. So you've got to find a way to balance out things that are important to you with things that maybe aren't important to you or you know aren't good for you. So I always say eat a lot and do a lot of the things that you know your body loves, that you know you enjoy. And when it comes to maybe things you don't enjoy, or maybe you know your body is not liking so much, that's where you just have smaller quantities of things. So I would say set a small goal, for example, to maybe one day try to start looking at the foods that you're putting in your body. How many ingredients are there? Are there things that you can't recognize? So eating from the earth, that means try maybe one afternoon, even for a whole day, which would be really challenging, to eat nothing processed, only things from the earth. So our nuts and our fruits and our vegetables and our fishes and our meats, nothing that has added colors or added sugars or that was manufactured in a factory. It's not something that we would do all the time because it is a challenge, because so much of the things we see around us are just not really good for us. So it's a small change. Play around with it. Look at your food label. See if you can really spend a day just eating things that really came from the earth and maybe what that would feel like, or maybe one day after 3 o'clock. So eating from the earth on occasion will make you feel good. Another thing that is really important is water and hydration. I cannot say enough about that. If I asked you all right now, how many of you take care of your families, your cars, things in your life, we're all going to raise our hand, right? We are nurturers. We take care of things and people around us. But it's the same thing as giving ourselves water. You know, it's like missing an oil change. Hydration makes everything right in our bodies. It keeps things unstuck. It keeps things flowing. It hydrates our skin, our insides and our outsides. So it's one of the only things that have no calories and are really, really, really good for us. So a ridiculous goal would be to drink half your body weight in ounces a day. Honestly, I've read things that say that. I think it's impractical. But even if you start by adding 2 8-ounce glasses of water a day, and you may say, that sounds really boring. Maybe I don't like water. So you can have fun with it. You can drink all kinds of hot teas, which are really soothing. You can infuse your water with mints and berries and basil and all kinds of flavorings, fruits and vegetables that you can play around with. There's all kinds of recipes for infused water. You can also take a flavor that you like a Crystal Light lemonade or something, and maybe, not drink the whole thing, but pour some of the flavoring that you like in your water. So adding different flavors and mixing things together. There's all kinds of fun ways we can do it. But setting a small goal of drinking an extra glass of water really does make us feel good, and it has amazing health benefits. So, all right, we've talked about that. The next thing I want to talk about a little bit is sugar. Sugar, and Amy, I was wrong about that. If you want to pop up that, sugar is one of those things that really, really hurts us. It causes a lot of damage in our body. If I asked you all to go to the grocery store today and to really find me 5 items that have no added sugar, I don't think you realize how long you would be there. It's crazy. Everything, bread, spaghetti sauce, everything has sugar. So what's happening is companies, and you all are incredibly intelligent, so you'll understand this for sure. I mean, companies will say no high fructose corn syrup in a sugar on the front of a sugar box, but they will put sugar in 5 different ways on the label. It's like a trick. They're trying to sell something. So you can Google this. I pulled like 30 code words for sugar. There are hundreds of code words for sugar. And something fun that if you all want to do today or this week, start looking at the ingredients of food in your pantry and see how many times sugar is coming up over and over again. To me, there really is not a healthy sugar. The only sugar that I honestly give a thumbs up to is something called stevia in the raw. It's a very small green packet. You can buy it at the grocery store. It actually has 0 calories and it does come from a plant. But again, it's moderation. So the only reason why sometimes you'll hear the marketing on honey or agave is because it's more of a natural source, but it still has all the carbohydrates, all the calories that sugar has. So it's just a fun thing to play. If you could set a small goal that maybe one day you are really going to try to not eat anything with added sugar in it, it will make you feel fabulous. It's not realistic, but again, cutting down on the portions of the things that we love to eat that have a lot of sugar in it are going to make you feel better, and they're going to be a form of self-care and really kind of giving your body a hug. So I just wanted you to see that. Xylitol is, again, not very healthy. What happens with xylitol and a lot of these like aspartame is that if you ever notice, like this happened to me about 25 years ago, I started chewing massive amounts of gum. And I can tell you one of my diet tricks is if I have a craving that I cannot stop, I will chew a piece of sugar-free gum. I have my favorite flavor of strawberry. It really does cut a craving, and I highly recommend a piece of gum and then waiting 5 minutes and still see if you're having some kind of a sugar craving. But anything too extensive and too much of it, I was eating massive amounts of this gum, and I couldn't figure out why my stomach was so bloated. What happens with xylitol and aspartame and a lot of the artificial sweeteners, like diet sodas, they're everywhere, is that your body has a very adverse reaction to them. So in moderation, they're okay. I would never say don't have them, but I can say they're not really good for you. But I would say you can absolutely have them in moderation. But if you notice at some point, they will cause some kind of reaction in your nose. You'll become nasally. You'll feel very bloated and gassy. So there are side effects to xylitol and some of these other artificial sweeteners. So I wish I had hours today to talk to you, and maybe one day we can spend a lot more time on things. But I just wanted you to see that would be a great goal for you, is to really cut down the amounts of sugar. I'll give you a super small example. I could talk about this stuff all day. If you go to the grocery store, a lot of us love yogurt, right? If you looked at like a strawberry yogurt or a blueberry yogurt, for the most part, it is literally going to be very bad for you and filled with massive amounts of sugar. And sugar then turns into carbohydrates. So what I would suggest, for example, is buying a really clean Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt, adding a little bit of stevia to it, putting maybe some fresh blueberries or strawberries, which is a really healthy fruit. And you honestly have a delicious yogurt that is much less sugar, much less calories, much less carbohydrates, and it really is satisfying. So what I do when I teach nutrition is how to substitute those things without taking something away that make you feel really good. So, all right, we can take that down and we'll keep going. Do you want to pop up the nutrition label?
I ask about Splenda.
Yeah, so Splenda is very similar. Splenda, honestly, I would probably rather have Splenda than some of the other ones, but I still really say stevia. And a lot of restaurants these days are starting to carry a stevia in the raw. So Splenda is a tiny bit better than aspartame and xylitol, but honestly, it still has a lot of the same side effects.
Thank you.
Agave Nectar, I see that, again, is a more natural version of sugar like honey is. But again, it still has lots of calories and carbohydrates in it. So I'll hear that all the time. People will say to me, well, why am I eating, a lot of like agave I've substituted, but I'm still gaining weight? It's because your body still, at the end of the day, is a calculator. It sees calories and it sees bottom line numbers. It's not seeing the substitutes that you're putting in. So I would definitely just understand that honey and agave still have a lot of calories and a lot of high levels of sugar in them. I always say that knowledge is power. So we're going to finish up on nutrition with this label, talk a little bit about this. I would love for you all just to spend a little time looking at the things you put in your body. These days with Google and with our phones, there's so many more things we can do. So we can understand, I can say how many carbohydrates are in a banana and it'll pop up in 2 seconds. So taking a look at what you're putting in your body, and we'll talk about a nutrition label now, but also understanding, like, are there 30 ingredients listed in your item? That would be a great goal when we talked about eating from the earth, is maybe 5 items or less in your ingredient label. See how that makes you feel. You're going to feel more energetic. You're going to feel healthier overall. And small changes like that really do make big results. I just pulled a basic label. Amy, can you move it up just a little bit? Thank you. That's great. I pulled a basic label and then I put some numbers to it that are basically my numbers. But this is just a label and you have them on every item in your pantry and at the grocery store. I just want to point out a few things from this, and I think it'd be fun for you just to play with this throughout the week. So if you look at the things that stand out to me, how many servings per container do you see in this item? It's the second thing listed.
4.
Cool, exactly. And how many calories are in this serving?
100.
Right. So when most people look at an item like this, they think there's 100 calories in this item, but there's really 400 calories. So you always take the servings per container times the calories, and that is typically, if you're eating this whole container, that's what you're eating. So what I'm trying to say is we're all eating too much. I don't think we realize sometimes the mass amounts of things we're putting in our bodies. So portion control, mindful eating is really, really important. So for example, if I know that I'm going to have pizza for dinner tonight and a glass of wine, right? My body may not love that too much. It's really going to love the spinach and the salad that I eat with lots of vegetables and spinach for lunch. Amy's laughing. So what you do is you take that pizza and you cut it into small bites, and you really mindfully eat. It's like respecting every single thing that comes through this space. It's like treating this space like everything else we love. Do I want it? Do I need it? Am I tasting the flavors? Am I appreciating it? Instead of throwing something in your mouth and multitasking and you're like, wow, I didn't even realize that I, enjoyed what I was eating. So really slowing down that process and tasting what you're eating. I cut my pizza into small bites. I use a really small fork. I use a really small plate. I eat really slow. I eat a lot of the things my body loves, but when it comes to like my chocolate or my pizza, I eat very slow and I mindfully eat. And it's amazing at the end of the day, it's a small change. You have taken in so much less and you put some away for the next day, and then your body has these amazing results from it. So, all right. So the things that I want to point out here, and we'll just spend a last few minutes on it, is the servings per container and the calories. I don't spend a lot of time on fat. We just don't have enough time really, or cholesterol. I'm happy to answer a question for you, but I can tell you that eating healthy fats are really important, like nuts and avocados. There's all kinds of wonderful healthy fats that are really, really good for you. So that myth of going to a low-fat diet, honestly, is not anything that I believe in, because if they're taking fat out, they're putting something artificial in to replace it. So I would much rather you eat really good, healthy, from the earth, natural items. Let's talk about the sodium in here. The American Heart Association says no more than 1,500 milligrams of sodium per day. I kind of put that in there so you can look at a label throughout the day and this week and kind of maybe set some small goals. The thing about sodium is it's not anything that you're going to be aware of you're doing at the time, but it does lead to high blood pressure. If you have issues with high blood pressure or swelling, reducing your sodium will make a big difference. So this item here, let's see, has 10 times 4, so 40 milligrams of sodium, not bad at all. But if you really walk down, let's say, the vegetable aisle at the grocery store and you look at a can of green beans or a can of soup in the soup aisle, sometimes they have up to 600 and 700 and 800 milligrams per serving. So you have more than your sodium in one can of soup or one can of green beans. So just kind of looking at that, what has added sugars, what has added salt. I would much rather you try the low sodium green beans or the no sodium green beans and add a pinch of salt at home to get your flavor right. So give yourself permission to make changes that make you feel good and set you up for success. So that's enough about sodium. I really want to move up to carbohydrates. I teach high protein, low carbohydrate. A lot of us are just eating way too many carbohydrates and our bodies just don't know how to break that down. So the American Heart Association entities will tell you aim for 300 grams daily of carbohydrates or less. I say 200, which is a huge goal, just because I practice a low carbohydrate, high protein diet. Let's see. Here is something to know. So if something has dietary fiber listed right under the carbohydrate value, that is a wonderful thing. Dietary fiber is really good for you, and you subtract that number from the carbohydrate value. So this item, for example, has 19 grams of carbohydrate per serving, 4 grams of dietary fiber. So 19 minus 4 is 15. So it's 15 instead of 19. So any items that you see with dietary fiber are usually on the healthier side, and you can always subtract out that number. So let's just say for practical purposes, 20 grams of carbohydrates times 4, that's 80 grams of carbohydrates. That's not terrible at all. So I would consider this item to be healthy. You just need to start looking at some of the items that you're eating. What are some of the items that have really high carbohydrate numbers? Pastas, rices, breads, right? It's amazing if you look at pasta, for example, will have 40 to 60 grams per serving of carbohydrates. So before you know it, you can eat a bowl of pasta or a bowl of rice and you've already succeeded the daily requirements of carbohydrates in one day. So I'm just a big looker at carbohydrates. There's complex carbohydrates that are good for you. There's simple carbohydrates that are not. That's where your sugar and your white flour comes in. That's where we portion control and we mindfully eat and we just start giving our body some self-love and self-care and set it up for success. Small amounts and portion control of those things that are processed or higher in sugar. If you have your favorite chips, right? We all have things that we love. I always would suggest to take a snack size Ziploc bag, count out 10 chips, put your chips in that bag, mindfully eat it, and really enjoy that. And then give it 5 minutes and see how you feel. It's amazing that those 10 chips will honestly make you feel really satisfied versus a lot of times, what do? We grab a bag of chips, we sit in front of the TV, and before we know it, that bag is gone. So we're putting a lot of chemicals and things in our body. Just slowing down that whole thing and portion controlling those things out will make such a big difference. All right, so we talked about that. We talked about dietary fiber, sugar, no more than 20 grams or 5 teaspoons daily. Again, this item only has 2 grams per serving, 8 grams. But it's crazy how quickly those 20 grams or 5 teaspoons will add up. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but you can play around with that. Protein, aim for 120 grams per day. It gets very complicated. All I can tell you is increasing your protein sources, nuts and beans and healthy meats from healthy animals, fish. There's all kinds of ways to get healthy protein. And it really is good for your body. It makes you feel good. Your body knows how to break it down a lot easier. So increasing your protein, increasing your water, increasing your vegetables, and reducing some of the carbohydrates, processed foods, sugar, and flour will make you feel a lot better. So if you want to pop that down, did somebody say something? So a couple things I want to just note to that before we move away from nutrition. I get the question all the time, is there any bread that's healthy or any rice that's healthy or any pasta that's healthy? if you looked at different breads or pastas, the carbohydrate values are going to look the same to you. It's going to be confusing, but here's what I can tell you. The healthiest form of that nutrient starts with a whole wheat, 100% whole wheat. Then they strip it of nutrients, it becomes wheat. So it becomes like a white flour mixed with some wheat. Then they strip it even more and it becomes like a white rice or just a white flour that your body has no idea what to do with and is really unhealthy. So I can tell you, if you're going to eat breads and pastas, let's say breads, for example, always look at 100% whole wheat, because it'll say wheat on the front of the item, but it'll be mixed with a lot of white flour. So looking at 100% whole wheat on the first ingredient of an item is telling you that it's made with a very nutrient dense wheat. So the carbohydrates, the calories are going to be very similar, but you're going to be getting a lot more nutrients from 100% whole wheat bread, brown rice versus white rice. The brown rice is kind of the nutrient dense version of it. So reducing maybe the amounts that you're eating and putting in more of the whole wheat version is going to be some self-love and self-care for sure.
Joy, we
Yeah.
have a couple of questions that came in through the chat.
Let's see. Okay.
So can you start by talking about the organic versus non-organic?
Yes, absolutely. And I've never heard of swerve, so I'd like to know more about that. Organic versus non-organic. It's such a great question. If you all have time, you can Google the Clean 15. So the government every year puts up a list of what they consider to be their organic fruits and vegetables and their non-organic. You know, it's expensive. There are definitely ways to be healthy without spending money. But I can tell you that when it really comes to organic and non-organic, the organic items are pricier. Are they healthier? And in a perfect world, would I say absolutely eat organic if you can? 100%. Here's what I can tell you. If you think about pesticides that are being sprayed on all these things, if you think of something like a strawberry, that's going to go right into your gut. So that is definitely something, for example, that I would suggest to eat organic. But if you think of something like a banana or something that has a very thick skin that you peel, you're basically removing those nutrients. So for me, if I'm telling you what I would suggest, I would always suggest the items that go directly into your gut. And again, we can talk about that on another day. There's a whole list of them. But things that have a really thick coat that you can peel, I would say those are fine to buy non-organic. But things that are really just directly going into your system, you know, like a green bean, like a strawberry, I would say, you know, if you can buy organic, it makes a difference. We are ideally talking about self-love and self-care today, right? We're talking about how small changes can set you up for success. So making small changes, maybe you see something, you try one thing organic. For me, I eat a lot of spinach. Spinach and kale are superfoods. So I'll hide spinach in my smoothies. Carolyn, okay, let me just finish the sentence. I love it. I want to hear. And so getting lots of like organic spinach and kale that are going right into your body and they don't have any kind of skin, I would say that would be a great organic choice. But getting a vegetable, period, is really important. If you can get an organic vegetable, it's amazing. So there's no right or wrong here, but making a small change like something like that would be wonderful. Yes, I'm so sorry. Carolyn, do you have a question?
Yes, isn't a banana organic?
No, I mean, they're organic bananas are still, yes, because they're grown on trees technically. But when you're dealing with farms and like farming processes, you're still putting things on them to last longer because they have to go from a tree into your kitchen. So we can get into that. That's a whole science, but there are chemicals at some farms going onto the skin of a banana. But again, by the time you peel it and put it in your body, it's a lot safer than something that is growing on the ground and going directly into your system. And I don't know about, what was that item that I haven't heard of that. Swerve is a sugar. Yeah, I've never heard of that. And I'm a big believer in keto if someone doesn't have a genetic cholesterol issue. So I'd love to learn more about that. I haven't heard of Swerve. Okay, so I want to move on from nutrition because we got lots of things to cover, but you understand the concept here. The last thing we can pop up before we leave this is the healthy snacks, Amy, if you want to. I have so many fun ideas. I always believe in eating small things throughout the day that are healthy so that your body doesn't have to get too much food at one time, like if we're starving, and then you store it as fat, and then we tend to gain weight. So I've compiled just a few things that I like to eat throughout the day that are mostly low carbohydrate and high protein protein. And we can run through these really quick so you can get kind of an idea. We talked about a lot of these today, but berries are really, really great as far as fruits are concerned. You can take nut butters to get your healthy fats on an apple or a celery stick. Avocados are a healthy fat. I use hummus on a lot of things, which is chickpea. Getting your vegetables in all day. I'll eat a lot of grape tomatoes and carrots. I will food prep about 20 minutes on a Sunday, and I'll cut all these things up in very small bags so I have them ready. Nuts are great, again, in portion. Guacamole, again, your 10 tortilla chips. There's a really healthy cracker called Mary's Gone Crackers that's made up of some really healthy rice, brown rice. Anyway, so Amy will have these, and I can also send these to you. But again, just understanding like spinach salad with vegetables as opposed to a Caesar salad, which is not made from a healthy lettuce per se and has just a bunch of dressing on it. So I'll let you look at this while I talk for a second. I want to round out and end this nutrition talk with small changes yield big results. Every single thing we put in our body has a number. Every ketchup, every mustard, your body doesn't know the difference. So even your condiments, putting your salad on the side, putting less ketchup, less mustard, less salad dressing, less sauces, just put enough on the food that you're eating to give it flavor. And honestly, removing 25 calories and 50 calories, all these little things happen throughout a day. You don't even know the difference. And before you know it, your body is responding positively. And they're very small changes. Lastly, us as Americans are taking in about 22% of our calories from liquids. So liquids count. Your body doesn't know the difference if you're taking in 200 calories and 20 grams of sugar from, let's say, a Diet Coke or a big glass of orange juice than if it's coming from a food. So just be aware of the liquids that you put in your body. I can tell you that I would much rather you eat an orange than drink a glass of orange juice. It has a lot of sugar in it. Or maybe you get your orange juice for flavoring and then you add some water to it. So even your healthiest vegetable and fruit juices that you see at the grocery store are filled with sugars and filled with calories. I'm a huge believer in vegetables. I love fruits and they're great for you, but they are high in sugar. So just knowing that, maybe like the pineapples and some of more of the tropical fruits have a lot more sugar. So eating more vegetables than fruits and eating more fruits than your processed chocolates and candies and cakes and things like that. So it kind of comes down to a choice at the end of the day. But just taking in higher protein, lower carbohydrate foods and being aware of the liquids and sugars that you're putting in your body will make a big difference. So my suggestion would be to set some goals this week. Maybe one day you're going to talk about nutrition. One day you'll talk about sleep, and take some of the things that we've learned today and just kind of set up some small goals. And again, you can reach out to me about all this. I can talk about nutrition all day, but it really is self-love and self-care, being aware of how our foods are making us feel. Are they making us feel tired or bloated? Do we have health goals? And then we put some goals attached to what those wellness issues are. And honestly, we can move forward and feel really good in a small way. All right, we can take that down. Any questions before we move on from nutrition? Let's see.
No.
Oh, beef jerky. Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. I'm a big meat eater. I eat very healthy meats. So there's some amazing vegetarians, and I absolutely think that's wonderful. But for me, I eat very healthy meat. So I eat a lot of beef jerky. I technically don't eat the beef jerky that you find at like the end of the grocery aisle when you're going to check out that has just a lot of chemicals in it. I tend to buy things at Whole Foods like turkey jerky. And things that have the least processing. I also buy some grass-fed beef sticks online from a company. So I do eat a lot of grass-fed meat. So I'd much rather you eat a beef jerky, honestly, than, like a Danish, if you're giving me a choice. And life's a choice, right? But I'd much rather you eat a cleaner, beef jerky, but it's a wonderful snack. There's healthy versions of that at Trader Joe's and at Whole Foods and even at the grocery store, and just looking for the least amount of sodium and the least amount of processing.
Thank you.
All right, let's touch on fitness for just a couple quick minutes. I'm a huge believer in exerciser. And again, we talk about self-care and self-love. To me, all of these holistic wellness things come together. So if you honestly ate right, but you didn't sleep good and you didn't exercise and you were really stressed, you're not going to feel good and your body's not going to feel good. So I encourage exercise. I really do. It is my number one stress relief in life. I feel like I can give so much to my family and my life around me because I release a lot of my stress through exercise. That doesn't mean you need to go out and run a marathon tomorrow, but I can tell you, getting your heart rate up doesn't feel good, but your body will be doing a happy dance. So what I suggest, my favorite things to do are getting your heart rate up for very short periods of time, strength training, and stretching. Cannot say enough about those three. So even if you gave yourself 15 minutes one day, you did a really good full body stretch for 5 minutes, you lifted some weights for 5 minutes, and then you got your heart rate up, maybe 30 seconds on, 10 seconds off, even marching in your living room, your body would be just amazing and healthy. So why do we get our heart rate up? We get our heart rate up, A, for stress relief, endorphin release, and also to condition your heart, right? We're all getting older. We got to have a strong heart. We got to have a strong body. And really getting that blood flow is really important. If you guys left today and went for a walk, you're going to feel great. It's vitamin D, it's stress relief. But if you really powered out 20 seconds on and maybe, or a minute on, a minute off, and really got your heart rate up or walked up a hill, which I love. So if you just walk without getting your heart rate up, you're going to burn calories, but you're not going to see any results the next day or the next day. If you really got your heart rate up for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, the next day your body is still looking for fuel because you worked it hard. It needs to function. So it's going to be burning fat and calories even the next day while you're sitting on your couch. So high intensity is really important, even for a couple minutes. Practice it, play with it. Stretching is so important for osteoporosis, to add length back into our body, to prevent injury, to keep our range of motion as we get older. Just huge self-love and self-care, spending time on stretching. And then strength training is really important. I don't care if you grab some cans or some water jugs from your kitchen. As we get older, our bones get very weak. And A, for osteoporosis, for aging, for strengthening our bones, but also your metabolism, the rate at which your body burns what you put in it is controlled by your muscle, not your fat. So the more muscle you have, the more effective your body is going to be, the more you're going to be able to burn efficiently when you put something in your body. Some of us are born with slow metabolism. Some of us are born with fast metabolisms, but you can increase your metabolism by strength training, by building more muscle in your body. So just being able to do some moves with, for your arms, for your legs, there's so many things you can do. You could get on YouTube and Google, a 5-minute strength training workout with 5-pound dumbbells. So many things we can talk about there, but a little bit of stretching, a little bit of getting your heart rate up, and a little bit of strength will go a very, very long way for our self-care and self-love. Okay, I'm going to go on to sleep. Sleep is really important. I know, COVID and life and stress, it just continues to wreak havoc on us. But I can give you some of my tricks that help. It's easy for me to sit here and say 7 or 8 hours a night, right? But it really is important. When your body is sleeping, it is in full repair mode. So many magical things happen when we're sleeping. So ideally, I'd love to say 7 or 8 hours a night. I really, want you to think about before you go to bed, are you really bringing everything down? No technology, no stressful TV shows. Maybe it's lighting a candle. Maybe it's listening to your favorite peaceful jazz. Maybe it's looking at pictures of, something, a place or a person that makes you feel very peaceful. But really paying attention to really slowing things down. I have no problem with melatonin over-the-counter medicines to help you. I take those, and there's nothing wrong with those at all. Sometimes we need some healthy sleep supplements, and I don't have a problem with those as long as they're in moderation. There's also a company called the Poliquin, Poliquin Institute that I buy a lot of their products from. And they have some really nice magnesium and melatonin sleep products, like other companies do as well, that I take. So again, maybe it's stretching, maybe it's breathing, maybe it's doing what we're going to do here in a few minutes, but really just making sure that you are slowing down. Then if your problem is waking up in the night and not being able to calm your brain down, that's another really common one. So my trick is I have a whole visual that I create. So you have to find a place in your brain. Maybe it's like a really dark room with nothing in it, something like being in water, whatever it is, but trying to create a visual that works for you that does not allow your brain to go anywhere. Maybe it's practicing a minute of meditation and just clearing everything out of your brain, but finding a peaceful place for your brain to go. And then lastly, I always keep Post-it notes and pens by my bed, and I write every single thought that comes to my brain and I throw it off to the side of my bed. So sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and I will not have one Post-it note. Sometimes I'll wake up and I'll have 30. But you just cannot let things sit on your brain, especially when you're trying to sleep. So by releasing them onto something in whichever way you do, really does kind of clear your brain and allow you to go back to sleep. So finding little things that you can do. Also, some of this exercise and these small changes will honestly make you sleep better. So I'm excited for you to set some small goals and try it. Okay, I want to talk lastly about positive thinking and stress, and then we can end with a couple minutes of just some deep breathing to make us all feel better. Stress is a killer. We all know that. You talk about self-love and self-care. Sometimes I don't think we even realize that we are feeling stressful, and our body produces hormones, cortisol. It actually is literally like if you ate 5 brownies, it doesn't know the difference. So if you're trying to feel better, if you're trying to get healthy, if you're trying to remove stress, but you still have it, your body is really reacting with sickness and with response and with hormones and all kinds of things that our body doesn't like. So really tapping into, are you feeling stressed and how can I remove that? One thing that's really unhealthy is keeping things in your brain that you cannot directly impact, right? Some of us are worriers, some of us are not. But I know if you sit with something like, if right now I'm sitting here thinking, wow, like I got to get on a plane in a month and I'm not really good at flying and there's COVID and I don't like it. And every day I continue to think about this. There's nothing you can do about that, right? You either go and you prepare yourself or you don't go. But things that sit on your brain like that continue to stress you out are actually physically causing you a lot of damage, not just mentally. So how can you remove things from your brain that you cannot immediately act on? Maybe you do something about them. Maybe you write them down and you put them away somewhere so you know they're there. And when it's time to deal with it, you deal with it. But really finding ways to keep your brain peaceful and not stress over things is really important. So when it comes to the self-care part, that's why I'm spending our last few minutes on stress. It's really important, especially in this day and age when there's so much coming at us with politics and religion and COVID, and it's just nonstop. So my goal and the reason I started my organization is to bring everyone together to feel good, to be our best self, to love each other. Honestly, I believe in a world that exists like that. So any which way that we can love on ourselves and nurture ourselves and continue to give ourselves the things that make us feel good, you can't control the world around you, right? We can't control something around us that's causing us stress. And so many times we think that things around us are going to be able to control how we feel, when honestly, it's what happens up here. So having a confident, peaceful brain and really understanding that we have the power to be our best self. We have the power to control so many of the things that happen around us. It will really empower you to feel healthier and to be better. So think about maybe your stressors are coming from something that's coming into your being, when really if you reset yourself and sent it outward instead of inward, it would make you feel so much better. So I often do it in my relationships and in my life. I work on myself and my strength and my confidence and my knowledge and my stress. And it's amazing how it positively impacts the world around me. So finding ways that you can really just get some exercise and breathe and surround yourself with peace and tap into those things in your world that are causing you stress and then release them from your brain, you're going to feel wonderful. So it's a little bit of a lot of things in your life. It's not just having one solution every day. It's setting a goal that makes you feel great. It's releasing things from your brain. It's just setting yourself up for success and doing small changes through your day and in your life that make you feel good and realize that you have the power to be better and to feel better. And don't let the world around you control that. All right, we have 5 minutes. I want to just get any last questions, and then I would like to end with just a couple minutes of some de-stressing and deep breathing that make me feel fabulous. And I hope you're going to feel fabulous from that. And if you practice it once a day or once a week, I think it's really going to make you feel good. Any last questions? Again, and you can always reach out to me after this as well. No? Okay. We good? All right, here we go. So you don't have to do this. You can do this. We're just going to stay seated, but I really want you just to close your eyes wherever you are. You don't have to, but I encourage you to. Assess where you are right now. What is your breathing? Probably most of us are breathing really shallow, which isn't healthy. And so I encourage you to start deepening your breaths. Just start relaxing everything. Notice how just a couple minutes of just checking out from life will make you feel. So start just deepening your inhales, deepening your exhales. The more blood flow we send to our body, that's why stretching is so important. I'm going to talk a little bit, but you all keep breathing. The more breath we send to our body, the more parts of your body that are touched by breath become healthier. They become alive. They're not sitting there dormant. They're parts of our body that never are tapped into become very stale. So our goal is to wake up our body and wake up our cells with our breath. So see how far, kind of visualize with your eyes closed, how far your breath is going. So can it reach all the way to the top of your lungs? Can it reach all the way to the sides of your waist? Can you really expand your belly? So visualize your air and where it's going. The next thing I want you to do, and you can keep your eyes closed on your inhale, is to bring your shoulders all the way up to your ears. And then exhale, grow tall, sit up tall, and be tall. We're going to keep doing that. Again, maybe your inhales go to a 4-count inhale, nice and slow. Maybe your exhales can go to a 2-count, then a 4-count exhale. A lot of times we sit really hunched over, and I just want you to feel the difference when you really expand your back and your shoulder blades down your back body. Keep breathing, and then I want you to do shoulder rolls. So bringing your shoulders up and back. Again, continue moving to your breath. And then when you're ready, I want you to send your shoulders forward. Big circles, breath to movement, no hurry. Give me one more. Keep breathing, and then I want you to drop your right ear to your right shoulder. Drop your chin all the way down, left ear to left shoulder. So we're just going to keep our breath going and expand that into your neck. Give me 2 more. All right, I want everyone to keep your eyes closed. And lastly, I want you to give me 2 big inhales, breathing in something really positive, peaceful, wonderful. And on your exhales, I want you to send clutter and stress out of your brain. I want you to visualize everything leaving through your fingers, through your feet. So breathing in positive, peaceful blessings, things that we're thankful for. Exhaling out negativity, clutter, clear the fog from your brain. We're going to end with 2 deep breaths. Everything you got. Here we go. Inhale, positive, peaceful, appreciation, blessings. Exhale, stress, negativity, clutter. Last one. Everything you got. Big, huge inhale. Let it go. And when you're ready, float your eyes open. Thank you all for giving me your morning, and thank you, Amy, for giving me the opportunity. I just want you all to see that just spending a few minutes tapping into things that are happening around us can make us feel better. So I hope you take something that you've learned from this that you can apply to your life, that make you feel loved and make you feel as special as you are. And that you get to appreciate your day and your surroundings and the blessings around you. And feel free to reach out to me anytime for anything. This is what I love doing, is getting us all feeling better and feeling more peaceful and being able to just live our best day and our best life.
Thank you, Joy. This was wonderful. So many good ideas and tips and techniques and thoughts. And I really, really appreciate you spending the morning with us. So
I love it. Well, have a wonderful day, everybody. And thanks again, Amy, for the opportunity.
All right.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.